Raynalon here. Today is another build showcase, and it's the Tenet Glaxion. So, Tenet Glaxion came out a month ago, I think, or 2 months ago, and I expected it to be like very not that great compared to like Amprex or Verma Splicer or Torrid, but ended up being better than all of them, and I will show you why. So, let's start with the mods. I'm using Galvanized Chamber for a lot of multi-shot. Galvanized Aptitude for status chance indirect damage per status affecting a target. Prime Shred for fire rate and punch through. Serration for more damage. The Toxic mod and the High Voltage mod, pretty much these two combined, you get Corrosion. And I'm also using Thermite rounds to get Blast. And I'm also using a brand new mod called Rifle Elementalist. What it does, it gives you 9% status damage and punch through. The status damage pretty much nearly doubles your slash, heat, electricity, toxin, and blast and gas damage. It's very powerful. And as you can see here, I'm using blast. So yeah, this mod is, in my opinion, must have. It constantly procs blast and it constantly does a lot of damage. For the last mod, I'm using Sinister Reach. And Sinister Reach gives you 12 more meters of beam length. This is a must-have on any beam weapon. Without this, beams feel horrible to play. So any beam weapon, you must use this. It just fixes a lot of things about beam weapons. So yeah, these are the mods. So the element I got, which I was farming for, is electricity. So I have easy access to creating corrosion. So I create corrosion with toxic. I have high voltage to give it even more like damage. And status chance, which is very important, and Thermite rounds to turn from cold to blast. So yeah, that's the element I picked. For the Arcane, I use Primary Merciless. When you kill stuff, get damage, gives you reload speed. So those are the mods in the Arcanes. So you wonder why I'm not using Cold. There are a lot of Cold synergies. Cold got buffed. Build, and why you're not using Frost, what's it called, Frostbite. Well, after I tested a lot, the blast is far much stronger because it's a powerful dot that scales with 30% of your base damage, and it also explodes. And when it explodes, it can proc statuses on enemies and just gives it more single target DPS and clear. And combining with this, it just so much stronger than any cold build, I will say. Not only that, if you didn't combine heat and cold and if blast was made something differently, I will use cold and blast, but because cold is there, that you can easily combine it into blast, kind of kill cold for this build, in my opinion. If you really like cold, you can like not make it into blast and focus on frostbite. And there's another mod that gives you like more cold damage. But I tested a lot and I find blast much more powerful and much more satisfying when it comes to clearing. So I will highly recommend that over cold. So yeah, those are the stats, the mods, and the arcane. Time to show you in game. So I will not use pretty much any buffs. So I'm gonna show you first a level 55 regular star shard, and we're going to spawn a bunch of orc in battle group, non-steel path, and did I in seconds, as you can see here. It's very unfair for them. I also need to switch out Siren because Siren has the 2 Ember shards. Are they Ember? Yeah, Emerald shards. So we're going to switch it to someone that doesn't have it. I think Mirage doesn't have it. Good. I'll show you again without those shards. And yep, everything disappears in seconds. For low level content, 0 effort, just look at one enemy, everything else dies around. But for higher level content, it's genuinely exactly the same. You just hold and everything dies in seconds. Especially when you use like some kind of synergies with Nourish or use a buffer like Mirage or Siren. Or other buffers. But yeah, you can see that Blast is constantly getting to 10, it detonates, getting to 10, detonates, getting to 10, it detonates. And it gives it a lot of numbers. And if you combine with Nourish, which gives you viral, stuff like this happens. Just Nourish, I will not use Eclipse. Yeah, it's disgusting. Blast is very powerful with viral. It's ridiculous how powerful the status beam weapon is right now. I mean, this is the only good status beam weapon, mostly because it has a pretty solid base damage, very high status, decent fire rate, and it chains, and it's like generally the best status beam weapon in the game. I did test it with Umprix doesn't even come close. I tested with Vermisplicer doesn't even come close. And Torrid is kind of close to Galaxion, but it's, in my opinion, how Torrid functions. You have to use the garbage Torrid to get stacks, then you have to go into an animation to then shoot it. Once you run out, you need to go on another animation, then you have to use Torrid, shitty Torrid again, and the entire gameplay just feels awful. But with this, which generally feels much better, especially with clearing, I find it the best. If I were to not spawn like Ganir, which a lot of people don't do Arcane, but let's say regular Ganir, it with Nourish on, you can see it's generally disgusting. Zero effort. It obliterates content. There's another synergy if you like to use. Instead of Serration, let's say you use it on low level missions or slightly, you can use a Steel Path. Instead of Serration, you combine the Combustion Beam. And you're like, why am I doing it with this? So if you use Siren and use the Roar build, so the way this functions is Combustion Beam, it kills and explodes, dealing 600 damage shortly after death, couple of meter radius. If you have Siren's third ability on, it will spread the toxic explosion to every enemy in an 8 meter radius. And if you use Roar then increases the toxic lash and increases the damage of Combustion Beam as well. And if you fight like Corpus enemies, pretty much this will happen. So these are level 195 Steel Path Corpus enemies. I used this, Roar, and this happens. It generally just they explode. It can chain react, which is the coolest thing about it. I'll shoot this guy, and you can see that everything here dies. It constantly explodes, killing enemy, explodes, proccing toxic. Roar then multiplies the damage on your toxic lash and Combustion Beam. And for low level missions, it's pretty powerful. For high level missions, as you can see there, it's also really powerful. If I were to use it on Corpus Deck, which are one of the most annoying enemies, same result. I'm going to shoot this guy, and you can see it spreads, slowly killing them, but you're not going to stop shooting, you're going to shoot this guy, and yeah. There's synergy with Combustion Beam yet again, and it's generally very powerful. I will say this is the best beam weapon right now in terms of constantly proccing blast and DPSing and capping all your overall statuses on enemies. Maybe there are other builds you can try, but I found generally this build here the best of all of them. So yeah, that was Glaxion. I hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like, it'll help me a lot. And thank you everybody for watching. See ya. Thank you. Goodbye.